All right. So welcome, everyone. Thank you very much for being here today. And today we are going to hear from Troy Woodard about a co-living property that seemed like it would be pretty vanilla, but it was not. So I want to say thank you, Troy, for coming. And why
Yeah.
don't you start off by, can you show us the property? I think I
Yeah.
have, yeah,
Do I share screen?
yeah, share screen. Let's start by looking at the property when you first saw it.
Okay. So let me see.
Just double click on it.
Yeah.
Now, I noticed when Troy and I were talking that his internet's a little slow, so we'll just be patient with it.
Okay. Can everybody see?
Um, is it up?
It's on my end. Yes. Let me
No,
see.
you need to click on it, I guess, or maybe minimize your folder because
Uh,
I'm still seeing the folder and I'm assuming everybody else is too.
okay. All right. So the last time I had to do a new share for that.
Yeah,
Okay,
stop share, then make sure you share the picture when you reshare. There you
there
go.
we go.
Can you
All
see
right.
it?
Yes. Why don't you maximize the window, like go up and make it as big as possible,
Let me see.
which is right next to the minus sign, but not the X sign, the one in between, the box on the other side.
Yeah, it's the Zoom is in the way. Okay, there we go. Let's see. Okay, put that down there. Okay. How about now?
Oh, okay. All right. Okay,
Yeah?
so yes, I'd like you to go to the very first picture that shows the outside. All right, so
Yeah.
we're looking
Okay.
at, there we go. All right, guys, this is looks like it would be good for co-living, right? Like not small. All right, what Troy didn't realize when he was looking at this house is that it was tilting.
Yeah. Okay.
So
I lost my arrows here. Let me see.
yeah,
There
um,
we
I don't
Okay.
know how we can make sure that a house isn't tilting when we look at it, but these were some of the issues that, Troy was looking at. This was a very large home. And it has,
Everybody see what I'm looking at?
yep, we can see.
Okay.
Yep, you're doing a good
So
job.
it wasn't too bad. But basically everything had to be replaced. So what was okay, had a little kitchen. We still had to tear everything out, take it down to the studs, redo all the electrical, all the plumbing, all the HVAC.
Look at those radiators.
Yeah, they're about 1,500 pounds.
Mhm. So
So the house was built in 1894, and then somewhere around the 1950s, they turned it into a sixplex. Um,
it has some nice architectural features and it's a beautiful
yeah,
Victorian. But when you tell me that everything had to be replaced, that you had to take it down to the studs, replace the wiring, replace the plumbing, um, everything.
yeah, and that was because of the city codes. So, um, like I was telling you before, we had to put a fire suppression system into it. Uh, the electrical wasn't a high enough amperage, so it only had 100 amp service, and we had to put a 600 amp service into it.
Okay, so hold on a second here, guys. This is where you can, on the outside, this is where if you think about it, you can sort of understand how big this house is. There's a basement, and then 3 floors, and you can see how large they are. And having been built from the before the turn of the century, and realizing that you've got to do everything. Maybe I'm only speaking for myself, but I think I'd go running. I would go running away.
Yeah, I
away.
didn't realize I had to do all that until I had already bought it. Until I had already started on the project, then the city came in, they shut me down. I had to get an architect and put out the whole plan. I had to go in front of the city zoning board.
Tell us
once
where
they
it
heard
is. Where is this?
This is Council Bluffs, Iowa, which is a suburb of Omaha, Nebraska.
How did you find it? And what did you pay for it?
So this was on the MLS. It had been on the MLS for about a year. This is back in 2018, back when, before the market was crazy.
And what so you found it on MLS, and
Mhm.
who owned it? What was the story? How did it come up? What did you pay for it?
It was just an old couple that owned it. And they didn't even live there. There was some lady living there that, was basically just not paying rent. There was some transients living on other parts of the house that the lady didn't know about. So, I have my other document.
So it's interesting, the house was
this
big
is-
enough that a woman was living in it and yet didn't realize that other people were living in the house also.
Right.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And Melissa had asked this about why did everything have to be replaced? Maybe she sneezed or she came in a little late. I'm trying to channel Pace in case you can't tell. Can you tell us that part? Like why?
Yeah, so, well, I had started on the project and then, we were asking for permits and then, the city was like, well, what do you have going on here? And so I started telling what I was gonna do and they're like, okay, so, you're gonna need to get an architect, tell us, what all you're gonna do, map it out for us. And so, yeah, basically with that, they were like, okay, the power, there's not enough power to do what you want. So we had to take the 100 amp system and make it into a 600 amp system. Same with the plumbing, all the plumbing was outdated. And then per city code, once you start, getting over a certain amount, like 20% of the value of the house, you just have to replace everything up to code. So
Okay.
that's what happened.
Now, when you say you had to do the plumbing, this
Mhm.
looks like a pretty big house, and I imagine it's attached to the city, that it wasn't sewer. So what did you have to, did you also have to replace the sewer lines, or what happened there?
Yeah,
Where were they
every
attached to the city?
in the street, in the middle of the street. So I got awesome pictures of that. I just trying to figure out how to get them on here. Let's see here.
So this was the before, and you're gonna move to the during?
Yeah,
Okay.
we might as well. Yeah, so can you guys see this part?
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, so this is
Nice.
like the rehab. So I kind of list on here, basically a total gut. It took us 3.5 years because we lived there. My wife and I did almost all the work. And we lived on the main floor while we did all the work. So as you can see here, we added 13 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, 2 kitchens, and 2,000 square feet of living space.
Wow.
So when we finished, it had 18 bedrooms, 7 bathrooms, 5 kitchens, and 7,000 square feet.
Okay. Now I want to know this woman that you're married to, because I can't believe you lived there and you didn't divorce.
I can't believe it either. But yeah, she's amazing. We're partners, so we do fix and flips. That's kind of like my history. So we were kind of used to this, but this was like something way bigger than we had ever done.
Wait,
So it's
you
like a
said
learning
you
experience.
raised the house?
Yes, yeah,
And that you added footings to replace the foundation. Okay, that line item alone is a lot.
it was a lot.
Um,
Um,
you didn't do that, right? That had to have been done for you.
well, I had people help me with it. Yeah.
And what
Um,
did you do with, you had asbestos in this house and you were living there? Oh my God.
yeah,
Okay, so
yeah,
I removed an old boiler once with my now ex-husband. You know, we had to bring a whole crew in because of how big it was. And as you said, those radiators are
yeah.
super expensive. So, I mean, super heavy. So you've got a lot of stuff going
Super
on.
heavy. We had to carry those all the way down the stairs, get them out. There were probably 30 of them. But yeah, so this is basically some of the major things that we did.
Just slow down, slow down.
Oh.
I'm sorry, go back up just a tad because I'm still taking it in. All right,
Okay,
so
yeah.
you had to dig out the basement another 8 inches.
We
Add,
we had to lower the floor.
uh-huh.
So we dug out by the bucket, we dug out the whole basement, about 8 inches lower. So we could have enough headroom.
Yep. So in case you haven't got it by now, this is this is how not to do a home. Okay. Sorry. So the sewer lines, the replumbing the house, the electrical, pouring the basement, and the driveway and parking lot. We, of
We
course,
made
the
a parking lot.
windows,
Yeah,
and then the 5 new egress windows in the basement. Okay,
mhm.
now you can scroll down.
Okay, well, so yeah, I made it short, of course, we did a lot. So we did fire alarm system. I wired that up myself. And then we put in a sprinkler system.
Wow.
So let's see here, I'll go to,
How much did you pay for this home?
I paid 82,000 for it.
And
Let's see here.
how much did this all cost?
By the time we were done, I was about 250,000 of my own money into it. So this is when we jacked up the house.
Yep.
If you guys want to see that.
Yep.
So this is the basement here. There's the asbestos pipes. These are the jacks that we used.
Melissa Smith is very, very intent on asking some questions. She said, did you have a bad
Okay.
inspector or did you forego the inspection because you were so intelligent?
I didn't get an inspection
Really?
because I knew it was a big job.
Okay.
I didn't know it was this big of a job, but we had just got done lifting another house. We had just did the same thing, but this is way bigger.
Gotcha.
So we had just got done doing it like right down the street from this one.
Okay. Okay.
So but you can see how the brick was cracking, so we had to replace all of that. Yeah, so this is where the boilers used to be.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a pit down there and
Yeah.
we ended up filling that in, and right now there's a kitchen and a bedroom right there.
Okay.
So this is where the foundation was. And so we knocked out the old, and those jacks are holding the house up.
Yeah, I was telling Troy that this is how they deal with properties in Vancouver, British Columbia, where I had been living for the last 14 years before I came down here, because the population grew from 1 million to 3 million in less than 10 years. So a lot of the homes were expanded this way because we always had basements, but they weren't high enough to really live in, and they jacked them up. And there are companies that do nothing but that.
Yep. So here we are filling in that.
There's the
That
bucket.
pit.
It's funny that you were emptying it out bucket by bucket.
Bucket by bucket out the windows. So now it's kind of filling in there. There's all the asbestos pipes, some of them.
What did you do with them? Did the city take them?
No, you have to dispose of them in a specialized place.
Okay.
So they're supposed to be wrapped in plastic and then kind of like buried. So here I'm just showing like how the house had moved and it made cracks. So this is like upstairs. If you can see the light coming through the cracks.
So the walls had actually separated?
Yeah. That's kind of what I'm showing. So here's
Now-
when we dug out. So the sewage pipes.
God bless you. And your wife. And you
And
had,
that's my son there.
how old was he?
He was probably 7 there. And then, so now we're pouring it back in.
Jared said that this is like a horror movie. It's very scary.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because we talk about all the good things that happen, but I do think it's interesting that, Troy had a house that most of us would have run from, but, he and his wife rolled up their sleeves and we can see what they had to go through. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah. We still can't believe that we did all that.
Yeah. It's one of those things where you're probably only going to do it once and only because you had to.
Yeah. We're not excited about ever doing it again.
Yeah. Show
So
us.
yeah, I don't know if you guys want to see other
Yes,
pictures.
I want to see. When I was
Okay.
talking to you, didn't show me, and yep.
Yeah. Okay, so this is I try to, get my son to help us as much as possible, but so like we're upstairs now,
Mhm.
and this is where we're actually just making rooms out of where there were no rooms. So
Right.
my wife and I, we did all of the framing, we did the wiring of everything. Now we're back in the basement doing the plumbing again. This is actually outside where we had to redo the whole main sewage line going out of the house. This is when we're putting in 600 amp from the pole to the house.
Oh, wait, go back there a bit.
Let's see here.
Just that last picture.
Yeah, okay.
That's interesting that in the neighborhood, there are quite a few homes that are not small.
Oh yeah. It's a they're all like Victorian, huge houses.
Interesting. How much did the 600 amp service run as a cost? Can you remember?
Yeah, well, and this is like 2018 prices, which, everything's different now. So back then I paid $13,000 to get it ran from the pole to the house. And then you have a 6 meter box. So to do that was $13,000.
Okay.
So there's all the tile. I laid 4 tons of tile. And that's it in the house. This is how the walls were. So we had to take those down and redo the walls.
How are the walls insulated?
They weren't really insulated back then. They didn't really have an insulation.
Okay. We did a house that was a little younger than that, and it had horsehair.
That's different.
Yeah, it worked apparently.
Yeah. Poor horses, I guess.
Yeah. Who knows? Wow. And you were doing this full time? Carrie wants to know, is this like a full-time thing you were doing?
No, at this time, when I was doing this, I was running a dealership. So I ran a car dealership. At the same time I had this until COVID. And then I shut down the dealership and I just did this. So that's why it took a little bit longer. Because I did, 12-hour days at the dealership, and when I would come home and do this.
Yeah. Wow. Nice though, when it's finished.
Yeah. Yeah, so this is, we'd had to take down the wall, run all the plumbing, do the electrical while the wall was down.
I guess the floors were one thing you could keep.
Kind of, I just put LVP over them.
Okay.
Because, the tenants, they would mess up the wood. So this is how it, after I put the LVP down.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times with the co-living houses, if you go by code, they won't let you have one unit. There has to be a separation, right? If you're familiar with that, between units, a fire separation. So you can't have a central air or central heat in a unit like this. So if you can see this picture here, there's a little wall heater, that little box at the end.
You could run your, if you use your mouse to just go near it, we could
Oh,
see
yeah?
your mouse. Yep, see, we
Okay,
can
right
see
there.
it.
Okay,
Yep.
yes.
Okay.
That's so to get around, not being able to use a central heat, we put little wall heaters and they have thermostats in them.
I don't understand. Why wouldn't you be able to use a central heat?
If
Because
there's a fire in one unit, then it can spread to the other unit through the tubes.
Okay, and it's because you broke it down into units that this rule exists.
It's really for any apartments that you have. There has to be a fire separation between any apartment. If you go by code,
Okay.
if you get the city inspector in there, that's the first thing they're going to tell you. But this was our cool way to get around that. You can put in like what they call mini splits, like in a hotel that has, air conditioner and a heater.
Yep.
But those are quite expensive. So these wall heaters, they're only like $250 a piece. And then it has its own thermostat. So it's a pretty cool way to get around that code. So this is basically how everything was in the house that we had to fix. So there's all the new plumbing. Here we are putting in the dedicated line for the sprinklers. My neighbors were very happy about this.
They're like, yay, they're putting in sprinklers.
Yeah, this was my cool way to level out a floor. I don't know if any of you guys do flips or anything, but if you ever have to level out a floor, this was like my way to make it level.
That's interesting. Is that a cement or plaster?
It's like a cement substrate, like it's floor leveler actually. So you just keep pouring it on.
Okay, that's good. Lance, I'm going to ask you to exercise a little bit of patience. Because
Do we have questions?
No, keep going. They'll come.
Okay, all right. Okay, so yeah, we're ripping up the street here.
Wow. You can see how big how deep they are, huh?
Yeah, that's how they tapped into the sewer, the city sewer.
Yeah.
Here, I'm just kind of, these are, I'm basically putting a wall right in the middle of a room to make 2 rooms out of it, which is common with, pad splits, right?
Yep. Yep.
So we're wiring it up there. This is kind of how the house was. It had these really high ceilings.
Yeah.
And these doors that separated each part. And of course, we just made those into walls.
Interesting.
So I guess here's an example of the insulation that they used in one of these. So I guess some of the walls, and they kind of like poured it in from the top. So it wasn't built like that.
Interesting.
We're back in the basement.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, this is a video.
So did you lower the ceilings in those rooms?
Yeah, I had to drop all the ceilings, and that's how we got like the plumbing and the wiring and the fire suppression system. So we basically just lowered it like a foot or two. And then we were able to keep everything in the ceiling.
Got you. Yeah, and it probably cut down on some of the heat too, right? Expenses.
I'd like to think so.
Yeah, those very high ceilings, sometimes they were hard to
Yeah,
keep
right.
warm.
So the house had 4 fireplaces in there.
And you kept them?
I kept them, but they're not usable, right? Because we wouldn't want people lighting fires in there.
In some cities, they don't allow fires anymore. And again, Vancouver, you're not allowed to have a fire, even if your house has a fireplace. No more
Really?
grandfathering.
Wow, and it's so cold up there.
I know. But it's interesting. When I first moved there as a kid, the houses burned coal. So I remember thinking, oh, the air is dirty. And of course, that stopped. They went to natural gas. And now Vancouver's known for being so beautiful. But it wasn't so much when I was a kid.
Wow.
Amazing. Lots and lots and lots of work.
Yes, we never thought we would ever finish.
Yeah. Sheesh. I wonder what the neighbors thought. They must have been very happy when you were nearing completion.
Yeah, they were happy that there wasn't, transients living in there anymore.
Yeah. Hmm. So you must have become rather friendly with the city inspectors and such over that time. You probably got to know some of them.
Yeah, they used to invite me to their, I don't know, inspector parties and stuff.
Because you kept them employed.
Well, and then during COVID, they didn't do any inspections for like a year.
Ooh. Did that mean you had to stop?
Well, it means that I couldn't get the inspection to like turn the power back on or to turn the water back on. So for like a year, we didn't have power in most of the house or water.
Wait, how the hell, pardon me, how the heck did you live without electricity and water?
Well, we had parts of it that had electricity and like I would do one bathroom at a time to make
Mhm.
sure that we always had a bathroom. So
Did so Lance is suggesting a generator. Did you have a generator?
no, but I could wire, so I could like manipulate where in the house we had electricity. So we had like just like little heaters, and I could take it to the part of the house we were living in.
Wow. Your children are going to have some stories when they grow up.
Well, hopefully they're good stories, right? But well, so yeah, there's a lot of that. Should we go to when we're finished?
Uh, Yeah, I think
you-
that I know Lance is ready. He's like, when did you complete this? Are you at full capacity? And what are you looking for your next deal?
Yeah, okay,
Show
so
me
let's
the
go to,
numbers. So yes,
yeah,
let's see this grand Victorian home done because I'm sure the house was absolutely, like
well, yeah, you
like,
get the idea. It was a lot of work. So
oh, it's so pretty.
here's the same, let's see, so we kind of mix it together.
Nice. Oh,
Now the sun shines on the house and
mhm. Oh, it's beautiful.
so here's
Oh,
the
nice.
same kitchen that you saw was all tore out.
Hmm.
These are the rooms. So you can see they're pretty big rooms. Some are like
Yeah.
400 square feet.
Oh, so wait, go back to that last one for a second, because I know Lance was the door appreciating the doors, and I was too.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Did you just leave the trim up and put the wall in there?
Yeah, yeah, I
Okay,
did.
you know what? That's not a bad idea.
I mean,
You could put a piece of art in there if you wished, or a mirror.
yeah,
At least you're keeping that woodwork. It's beautiful.
it's beautiful woodwork.
Yeah.
Um, so
Wow,
and
they
you
are
can
big
see,
rooms.
yeah, they're huge rooms. So now we have our exit signs in there and uh
So different.
yeah, yeah. This one's actually a studio, so it's got its own kitchen and bathroom, laundry rooms. There's the little, I'll show you the little wall heaters.
Hmm. Haven't seen that.
So every room has its own heater.
Okay, so they can set their own temperature.
Right, every room, the kitchen, the bathroom. So I have videos on some of these, but
Yeah, got it. Nice.
the orange pipe is the fire suppression
Oh,
sprinkler
gotcha.
system.
Hmm. Now we're seeing it completed, and are you living in it?
No, no, I don't live there.
You had enough of it, huh? Is that the basement? Yeah, it must be. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, this is the basement now, so
Hmm. Wow,
if
what
you
a
can,
difference, huh?
what a difference, right?
Yeah. How many kitchens are there in this house now?
There's 5 kitchens.
So funny to see the exit signs.
Per city code.
Yes, I get it.
There's
Oh,
the parking lot.
okay.
So that's,
You
it's
extended
kind of,
that, right?
yeah, yeah, I made it a lot bigger than it was.
Good. Got
Let's
it.
see here. Um,
Okay, so maybe, do you have any of the, all right, here we go.
okay, so
This is what a
here's
lot of us
like the
want to
nitty gritty
know.
stuff, right?
Mhm.
So, okay, I'm gonna turn the light on because it's dark here.
All right. Okay, so the residents are being
So-
referred from local nonprofit organizations.
Right, so
And
the
they
whole
pay,
idea, they pay their rent. The whole idea to pay for this, right? Because it was a huge investment. Was that I have a nonprofit and I've worked with them for a long time. So I have about 56 units. And the nonprofits are always asking me to house their homeless people. So I've worked with them since about 2016. And they always were begging me to get more and more housing for them. And so this was like my plan that I could house way more people for them. So the nonprofits, they have programs for people that are homeless or that have barriers to housing. So people that have evictions, bad credit, felonies, mental illness, whatever barrier they have, they'll pay for their rent. And I'm sure this is in every city. A major one that you can see here is Pad Mission. So Pad Mission is a collaborative, not Pad Split,
Yep.
but Pad Mission. And I work closely with them, and they give us incentives. So for each client that we take on that has a barrier, they'll give us either $500 every 6 months or $1,000, depending on how bad their barrier is. So it really helps out. And that's in addition to the rent that they pay.
now the
So,
house that you say that you have a house manager that lives there for free.
yep.
Is he an
Yeah.
employee of Pad Mission or who?
No. Pad Mission is just a collaborative of nonprofits.
Who?
So they're
Who's hiring the house manager?
me. Yeah,
Okay.
so I hired him, and he actually manages probably about 30 of my properties. So he lives here for free, and then he goes around to the other properties as a manager.
And did you say 30?
About 30. Yeah, all the ones that are in Council Bluffs, he manages all those, and he's basically an employee of mine.
Got it. Do you pay him on top of the free rent?
Well, he does other work for me too, so
Got
in
it.
that
So
way,
you,
he
in some
pays
ways
for
you do.
that. Yeah.
And do the Lance is asking in the chat, do the
Let me-
nonprofits cover repairs and maintenance?
There are nonprofits that do that, but oh no, what did I do here? The nonprofits that do that here, they don't like the co-living. So I do work with nonprofits that cover everything,
Mm-hmm.
but they need to have their own apartment. They won't do co-living.
Oh, interesting. Okay. And what's turnover like?
Everyone that I've signed up in my co-living has a year lease.
Do they stay for the year?
Yeah, and longer, most of them. Yeah, I think I've only had like 1 or 2 people move out.
Interesting. Well, that's good if you don't have turnover, a lot of turnover.
Yeah, it's
What
very
is, what are the limitations of the people that you take in this regard? Cindy's asking, do you take care of people with disabilities? Do you give them space like wheelchairs and things like that?
Yeah, I don't have it. I can't remember the word for that, but it's not accessible
Oh,
for like wheelchairs and things like that.
okay.
As you can tell, there's a lot of stairs in that house.
Yes, and I didn't notice an elevator.
No, not yet.
Yeah, I'll bet that it could use an elevator. Do you furnish it?
I have nonprofits that donate beds and dressers. So I haven't needed, I started to furnish it, and then the nonprofits told me that I didn't need to, so.
Nice. And of course, the obvious question, have you had any difficult tenants?
Oh, yeah, yeah. So that's about the only
I'm sorry,
drawback.
that was very precious. Oh, yeah, like it was like expected.
Well, and that's where the house manager is so important. And that's why, you know, he gets a 4-bedroom apartment for free. But yeah, so, you know, you're dealing with people that have been homeless or felons or mental health. A lot of people have mental health that, you know, that doesn't show up on the application when they fill out an application, right? So yeah, a lot of a lot of drama, and that was part of, you know, like a learning experience, right? Because when I first opened, I had all these open rooms, and I was like, well, I need to fill them as soon as possible, so I would take anybody. And then, you know, that was kind of a learning curve of who, you know, who or how to filter through the people. And different ways, right? Because a lot of homeless people, they'll try to help out their friends. So before you know it, you have 4 homeless people living in one room, you know? So, uh, you know, and if you know, other people do things like, they have a little, like the magnetic keys that open the doors, but then they'll just give that to somebody else. So what I got were those door locks that use a fingerprint. So that way, the only way you're getting in is if, you know, your fingerprint or somebody else's finger. So that's helped a lot. And then I have cameras, and of course, a live-in house manager. Just because of the size, right? If you're doing this on a smaller level, like four bedrooms in a normal house, or 6 bedrooms, you probably wouldn't need a house manager. But this is 14 rooms.
Right, exactly. So Troy, you said that you have 30 properties.
I have 56 altogether. There's 29 of them that are in Council Bluffs, Iowa.
Okay. How did you get to so many? And what are they all for homeless people?
Um,
That's a lot of
not
homeless people.
all, but I I have a pretty good relationship with the nonprofits here, because not many people do what I do. So they're always sending me people if I have something open. You know, I try to help as many people that have barriers. So it's not just homeless people. There's you know, people that are felons, or people that just have issues getting apartments.
Where do
I
you
try to help those people.
Yes, I understand. Where do you have the other 25?
In Omaha, so right across the river.
Got it.
The same metro area.
And do you use those ones for the same clientele?
Yep. Yes.
Okay. Do you have anything else you want to show us on here? Because I'm going to ask you to stop the share if you're done. If you're not done, show us what you want to show us.
I think that's it, unless anybody wants to see something.
I'd like to see you. So go ahead and
Okay,
stop
let's
share.
see.
Where are you? Where'd you go? Oh
Can
yeah,
you
there
see
you
me?
are. Uh-huh. Just a sec. Okay, there we go. That is really touching what you're doing. I mean, I'm sure that with that many homes and that many people, economically, it must be okay. I mean, you must be doing well.
Yeah, it's okay. We get by.
Well, let me ask you this. Is it financially an investment that you think was like wise, or are you struggling?
No, I'm not struggling. And it's just, you know, the same thing that Pace says. You basically have all these people going to work, you know, in this case, it's government paying, but you know, it's the same thing, right? They're all paying down your mortgage. That property there, the last time we had it appraised was about 900,000. So,
Okay.
you know, just that one there is not a bad investment.
No, I went from 330 to 900. You've got some equity built up.
Yeah, quite a bit of equity.
What made you decide to choose that clientele? Like why, and is it always single people or families or what? So two-part. And
No,
anybody else who has
I have,
questions, drop them in the chat box or raise your
yeah.
hand.
I have a lot of families, a few families, a lot of couples. When I was young, I grew up on the streets. So, at 17, I was already, couch surfing. So, and I don't know if that's why I did it. I like to help people, and I had the chance to do it, so, but I certainly know how it feels to be in their position. So,
Right. I think you do have to know that before you can fully empathize, right? Because if you don't
maybe,
know, I mean, it's easy for people to say, well, why didn't you get a job or not, to not get it. But when you've been there, you get it.
yeah,
So
maybe
yeah,
that's why I did it.
yeah, yeah. Well, I think that it's very, very inspiring, and it's interesting that we all try to do some good. We're not there to just try to steal houses, like some people would like to think. But
Right.
what area do you serve? What niche is it that you think you're bringing value to? Right? Everyone is different. And I think that the homeless community, it's kind of ironic that we live in what we consider the richest country in the world and that we can have this problem. And
Yes.
that a lot of them
Mhm.
also tend to be like ex-vets. That chokes me up.
Mhm.
It really upsets me. Because in Canada, we don't have um, ex-vets that are on the street. Not very many. Because there aren't very many vets, but when they get out, they're taken care of, meaning that you don't see them on the street very often. But in the States, that's, you know, uh, all too common, all too common.
Definitely.
And families, it's very, very difficult. And yet they come with their own set of problems too and challenges.
Right. Mindset.
Exactly. Mindset. Yeah. So, this is the area that you focus on. Any other areas that you do, or is it 100% this?
Um, I I tried to do a sober living, and so I have some that, I have another part of my nonprofit that helps people with sober living. But I've struggled with that because, it's my great idea that they're sober, but they don't have the same idea all the time, so they come in sober and they just they relapse. And then I'm like, well, I'm not trained. I don't know what to do with that. Call your sponsor. But and then it's like in a housing environment, when one of them falls off the wagon, it's like they take everybody with them. So
Oh, that's a good point.
I still try to do that, and I have some people that are on that program, and it's kind of like between them. So they're all there for each other. They do AAs there. So that's another demographic.
For sure. Cindy says, could you please explain again how you get paid rent? Is it direct to you and from where?
Well, just as an example, yeah, they pay directly to my nonprofit, which I'm the director, so it's me. But the one that's here local that I do the most for is called Heartland Family Services. And these exist in every city. They just have different names. And yeah, so they pay me directly. They find me. They know what kind of client, they call them clients. They know what kind of clients I will take, it's like behind closed doors. I tell them, don't send me druggies. Don't send me, I tell them, don't send me people that don't want to help themselves. I want to help people that want to help themselves. And so they know, who to send me. And then, yeah, they pay for it. It's automatic. It's direct deposit. And then, like I said, I get the incentives on top of that. and then, yeah, sometimes there's a little bit of drama with that, but it's all, it's a learning process. Just like I think with any tenant, uh, you know,
Got
you
it.
gotta learn who to accept and who to pass on.
We're getting a couple of questions on structure. You stated that you have a nonprofit.
Mhm.
Do you need a nonprofit to get started? And what
No,
what
definitely
will
not.
make you more attractive to the nonprofits with these clients?
Um, I set up a nonprofit just, um, I don't know, because I wanted to be nonprofit. I guess a lot of people do that so you can, get donations, have, donation drives. I don't do that, but it just kind of like to set myself apart, that, hey, I'm not doing this for the money.
I see.
Um,
And
and
are the
I have worked with Oxford House before. I see
Okay.
a question there, so I'm familiar with them. Um,
what are-
sometimes it's good to work with them, but I'm the type that always does things myself, as you can tell by the house.
I think that's fantastic. That's pretty impressive that I'd be afraid to take on all those skill sets, but I think it's pretty impressive that you guys did that and you've learned them over time. Um, Jim asks, actually Cindy says, does the nonprofit own the homes?
No, no. So I have LLCs that own the homes, and then the nonprofit pays rent to the LLCs.
Okay. And what about loans? Is it tough to get loans as a nonprofit?
Um, I don't get the
You
loans.
get them as an LLC because you put it in an LLC.
Right,
Okay,
right. Yeah.
got it. So that doesn't make any difference. It's just that you're doing business under the nonprofit. They pay the
Right.
rent to the LLC.
Mhm.
Okay, very interesting. Are there tax advantages as well for yeah, I guess there are to the nonprofit. Yeah.
Um, yeah, yeah, definitely.
Okay. And Jim says in Sacramento, we were a nonprofit owning, but then the county wanted 12 homeless veterans to file tax returns before they could abate the taxes. Wow. That's not very helpful, is it? Huh. Interesting. What advice would you have to someone who might be interested in, looking at this as a business model, to go into providing housing for that clientele? Because it is insured money. I mean, it's coming directly from the government
Yeah.
and you're getting something, something different that can't be, that's not tangible. The good-heartedness of knowing you're really helping people at the very bottom, you know, but what advice would you give to them?
It depends on your goal, right? What are you trying to do? So, like in my case, I had this huge house with a bunch of rooms, and it's not like the normal person is looking to just rent a room. So I was like, well, I need to find the people that are going to fill this. We don't have pad split here. So that was like, it's kind of like I can help myself and help other people at the same time, because there's just endless lists of people that need a place to live, and they're not picky if it's a room or if it has furniture, or a lot of the people, they come from the street, they've been living in a tent, so they'll take whatever they can get, and they're very grateful to have even a room and share a bathroom. So it helps me by finding tenants where normally it would be a hard thing. I don't have to look for tenants. I don't have to do a lot of the work that a property manager would, because the nonprofits are out there screening the people, finding the people, bringing them to me, and then paying their rent. So in that way, it's a lot easier to make a business out of it.
Got it. Got it. Okay. All right. Any other questions? Okay, I have a kind of a request, whatever you want to call it, guys. Um, I would like if anyone is in the audience who has already done something in the way of co-living, who wishes to talk, to step up. I've asked for a couple of people and I'm starting to get them, but it's interesting for me to see that the podcast, which I've been doing now for 34 weeks, I have very little problem finding anyone. I'm booked out for a while. I always have been. And the co-living Zooms are becoming more challenging. And I think it might be because there are smaller niche than just real estate at general, which is what I'm doing in the podcast. But I could use every one of you guys to think, hey, would this person be a good person to have on our Zooms? Because, I know it's me that's hosting it and stuff, but you talked me into it. I wasn't interested in doing co-living until I had proven myself. Thank you, Jared. I love you for that. And the point, and all of you should be dropping, somebody because you probably do. And here's the thing. I want us to be able to continue these, but it's really hard to try to come up with people. And I'm so grateful for you, Troy. And we can learn because look what we just saw. I mean, he survived that house and he's got a pretty nice size portfolio and he's helping a lot of people. There are things that we might not have considered and it's verging on the co-living. It's within that space. So please, if you can, reach out to me with names. I don't mind reaching out to them myself, but Oh, and Melissa has always got good ideas. She said maybe we could have a Q&A or just like a working group session occasionally. Yeah, maybe. And Kim Walsh, the queen of pad split. Yeah, okay. Okay, this is helpful to me. I appreciate it. Okay, and I have one last question and then I think we can wrap it up. How old are the youngest people that you have in your homes? Do you have children, like, little ones?
Not really. Oh,
So are they adults?
yeah,
Like from
everybody's,
18 and up, that sort of thing?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I think the youngest I have is like 20. He's probably about 20 years old.
And any couples,
Yeah, I have quite a few couples.
but they don't have kids, huh?
No.
Okay. Interesting. Interesting. Okay. All right. Well, everyone, thank you very, very much for being here. I am going to save the chat. I do it anyhow. And this will be available online before long. And I will do my very best to keep this going for as long as you guys want it. And I appreciate the fact that you're willing to help me. And yes, please say thank you to Troy. We've already got a bunch of people in there saying thank you and God bless.
Hey, Effie, what's the best way to reach Troy?
Oh,
Do you
that's
want
good.
it? Did you want it? Yeah.
Yeah, Troy, how should we have them reach you?
Facebook
Facebook.
is probably the easiest.
Yeah. All right. Is that what you normally put out there?
I normally don't put anything out there, but I could give you my number. I'll put my number here.
Sure.
Feel free to give me a call or on Facebook, friend me, send me a message.
Yep. I
My
just
number's
dropped
there.
his Facebook link, and if you could drop your phone number, then that would be great too.
Yeah.
For sure.
So that's my cell phone there. But
Awesome.
yeah.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, and we will see you next Monday. I will use both posting and if you happen to be new here and I don't have your email for the email list, now's your chance to drop it because, I know that that's been helpful. A bunch of you have said thank you for that. It is good to have it in your inbox if you want it. So if you're not on that list, drop your email now. Otherwise, you'll have to rely on luck to get it. Okay. Thank you, Kevin. Hi, Jetty. All right. Thank you, guys. See you next week. Peace. And thank you,
Thank
Troy,
you.
very, very, very much.
You're welcome.